All right, good evening. I will call the Monday, June 9th Select Board meeting to order. I'm going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll start with open forum. Is anyone here for open forum? All right, seeing none, I will close open forum. So we have, well, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, you want to run us through the what we have for appointments and action items?
Yeah, we have 3 appointments and we have 17 action items.
Oh, goody.
Woohoo!
Yep. Okay, so we're going to change the order a little bit. First appointment isn't until 6:10, so we're going to start with the action item number 9, if you don't mind addressing that.
So action item number 9 is to discuss, vote, and sign contract with library director.
Okay. Want to come on up to the podium here? Welcome.
Thank you.
So you're just going to give us your name and I don't think we need an address. We just
60
need-
seconds.
Yeah, go fast. And just, we'll start from there. How's that?
Okay, my name is Karen Urbach. I'm a librarian right now at Bridgewater Public Library. Previous to that, I was at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and previous to that, I was at a couple of historic house museums in South Florida.
Okay.
So my library degree is from the University of South Florida, and I'm also a certified archivist, and I'm also a genealogist.
Oh, wow, great. Charlie, you want to run through the process, how we got to this point here, real quick?
I can do it real quick. We went through several iterations of advertising. As with many department head positions across the state, finding people who are interested and qualified for these positions has become more difficult, and that was true for the library director. I think a lot of credit goes to Rebecca in terms of her notice or ad writing skills. I think that changed sort of how people would view East Bridgewater Public Library, and we were able to get basically we went from 0 candidates through the first few rounds to getting a significant number.
Yeah, around 10, which was a good number.
Yeah, and so the Board of Library Trustees reviewed the resumes and handled the process of narrowing down the selection, and Erin was the person that they've chosen.
Great. All right, well, I'll see if the board has any questions. Our library,
Hi, Karen. My name is Carol Julius. I'm the library director in Carver. So
Oh, wonderful, okay.
welcome,
Yes,
and
thank you. Nice to meet you.
you're staying in the sales network, which is
I am,
good. So it's
yep.
not a huge leap. But maybe just tell us why you want to be a library director now, after doing so many different things.
Well, I feel like a library, a public library, is a community resource and a community center. And it's a way that people can come together. It's a way that people can encounter different ideas. It's a way that community is built. And I would like to be someone who champions that and leads that.
Great. Well, if I can do anything to help as you transition, please let me know.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And I'll see you at the sales meetings.
Yes.
yeah, right. Talk and shop. Catherine, anything you'd like to ask, or?
Yeah, I would just like to ask one thing. You said you were in Bridgewater before. What's something from Bridgewater that you've learned that you're going to take to East Bridgewater?
Oh, boy. I would learn that a collaborative work style is the best work style.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that at Bridgewater, there's a lot of mutual respect within the team and the staff, and that's how I would hope to lead. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you. So I don't have any questions. Don't know much about the library other than going in and get a book and
Okay.
checking it out. But we have a beautiful library, obviously
Sure do.
one of the iconic buildings in town. So we welcome you, and
you.
we hope for much success for you as well.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with all of you.
Yep. Anyone from the administrative staff? Any questions or?
No, I think Karen's going to be a great addition.
Yep.
With, the absence of a director, Charlie and I have been going over there and getting to know the staff over there, and I think she'll be a great fit, and they have a pretty good department going on there.
Great.
Yeah.
What's your start date?
July 2nd.
Coming right up.
Close?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion, Catherine, to hire Mrs. Rebecca as our
Yeah.
library director.
Yeah, where to say I-
Just make a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to hire Karen as library director.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Covered most of the bases for you. Again, welcome, and I will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So they'll sign the contract after this meeting, and
Okay.
then after I get the library trustees, then I'll scan it and send it to you in the morning.
Okay,
All right.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we have our first permit is until 16.
You have a
We have a
hearing
public
scheduled
hearing,
for
though.
6,
Oh. we have one?
right at the beginning of the agenda.
Oh, I'm
notice
sorry, I
hereby-
didn't see that. I went right by that.
Well, it's fine. They weren't here, I think.
Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna have you read the public hearing notice.
Public hearing. Notice is hereby given that pursuant to the requirements of MGL Chapter 138, a public hearing will be held relative to application for change of officers, directors, LLC managers, and change of ownership interest for Wedgewood Beverages Incorporated at 838 North Bedford Street in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts, 02333. A public hearing will be held at the Town Hall, first floor conference room, 175 Central Street, East Bridgewater, on Monday, June 9th, 2025, at 6 p.m.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone here from, there she is. So you're just gonna come up and just give us your name and your position and
Yes. So my name is Elizabeth Pisano. I am counsel for Wedgewood Beverage Inc. This application is for a change of officers and change of ownership for the parent company and the entities higher up in the chain. There's no changes to the licensed premise. There's no changes in the operations. You will not notice any changes at all. There's just individuals at the upper tier levels coming and going.
Okay, perfect. Charlie, anything from your end? No, seems pretty straightforward. Anything from the rest of the board here?
Nope.
I'm good? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Yep, absolutely.
Channeling Dave.
Right, right. Thank you. Let's close it up.
Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion's made second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Then a motion.
Now
We
you
need a
get-
motion
now you
now
need the
to
motion
accept
to actually
the change
do the-
process.
Which
We need
is
that
action
motion
item,
accepted.
it's action item number 1.
Yep.
Okay, yep. A motion to approve the change of officers, directors, LLC managers, and the change of ownership interest for Wedgewood Beverages Incorporated at 838 North Bedford Street.
Second.
All right, motion made second. Any further discussion? All good? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right, let's get through the number 2 and number 3. Bang those out.
All right. To approve the minutes of May 19th, 2025 Select Boards meeting.
Second.
All right, motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then you said 3, right?
Yeah, 3.
Motion to approve but not release the minutes of the April 14th, 2025, April 28th, 2025, and May 5th, 2025 Select Board Executive Session meetings.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You can actually go right to the appointments.
Think so, yeah.
If it's not like a hearing,
Yep.
then the appointments you can do
Sounds
earlier.
good. Okay. So we will call the Summit Drive residents hearing.
Oh, it's not a hearing, a
Excuse me,
discussion.
Appointment, yeah. We guys want to, so I mean, what do you want to say? We've got quite a few moving parts with this, right?
Well, we have members of the Traffic Advisory Committee here. We have residents from Summit Street.
Right.
You might want to ask them, come back, have a seat at the table to go back over what they're requesting as changes there in the traffic infrastructure to try and slow down the speed limit, not slow down the speed limits, slow down the speed of the motorists there. And we have, as I mentioned, the Traffic Advisory Committee members are here and they can respond to those requests.
Sure. Okay, I know we have 2, Mr. Ferrioli. You guys want to come back up again to the, I don't know if you got anyone else that wants to represent Summit Drive as well? Just grab a chair, come sit up. Yeah, just,
Yeah, no, you just
no, you
pull
can
the chair right
scoot
up
it
to the
right in
table.
there so we
Yeah.
can, if you have any questions.
I'm going to be referencing this.
Okay.
So state law.
Thank you.
The underlining wasn't in the original, I just highlighted some things that I thought
Mm-hmm.
you might want to look at.
Thank you.
Liz Bear.
Yes.
All right, just for anyone that hasn't seen our last, I don't know, 7 meetings, just give us an update on what we're doing here and what the request is from the residents over there.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to catch Catherine up on a few things that I said in the first meeting.
Yep.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the speed limit on Summit Drive from 25 to 20, and we're trying to, I did a lot of research on the Mass DOT. Mass DOT says signage works to a point. It reduces the speed for approximately 2 miles an hour. People get used to the signs, and they just, it's a novelty. And then after that, the only thing that really works, according to Mass DOT, is speed humps. Not bumps, but humps, like they have in West Bridgewater and they do have in Boston. So I also did some calculations from that site, and since we're only talking about a couple of speeds now, the average an average driver takes 1.5 seconds to react to an incident. So if somebody came out from a car or something like that, it takes about approximately 1.5 seconds. At 25 miles an hour, it takes 84 feet to stop. So you consider the distance. I don't even know what this room is. I don't even think this room is 84. I mean, just think it's longer than this room to stop.
30 feet.
At 20 miles an hour, it drops down to 62 feet. So just in the 5 miles an hour, on an average person, and that's not somebody that's distracted or some kid coming out from behind a car or anything like that, but if somebody looked at their phone or just got distracted, that adds several feet to its stopping distance. So at 20 miles an hour, it drops down to 62. So the difference in 5 miles an hour is 22 feet of savings in stopping time. The distance from the end of the street, from where Summit Drive curves, and people do slow down a little bit at the curve, and then they start, is 646 feet. If we drop the speed limit down from 25 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, you save 4 seconds. I mean, it takes you 4 seconds longer. So if you went to 20 miles an hour, you only lose 4 seconds of your life. Okay? This is why I was saying it's not a big deal. It's only affecting 0.5% of the town. I mean, it's a dead-end street, so it's not affecting a lot of people. And then, so then I went online and I looked up, the laws that were presented in the last meeting that you were here. One of the things I wanted to talk about again is we're not asking the town to do anything outside its authority. Okay, so the law says, and this is what you have in front of you, the law says, notwithstanding Section 18, this is Chapter 9, Section 18B, notwithstanding Section 18 or any other general or special law to the contrary, the City Council, the Transportation Commission of Boston, the City of Boston, the Board of Selectmen, I should say Board of Selectmen or Select Women,
Select board.
Park Commissioner, a Traffic Commission or Traffic Director of a city or town that accepts this section in the manner provided in Section 4 of Chapter 4 may, in the interest of public safety and without further authority, establish designated safety zones on or at near any way in a city or town which is not a state highway. And then I skipped down because this is talking about a state highway, which we are not. Such safety zones shall be posted having a speed limit of 20 miles an hour. So this is something that you can do without further authority. You have the authority to do this according to the Massachusetts law. So we think with the fact that we have so many people under 12 years old and so many people over 60 years old, if there's a car parked on the street, the street's only 20 feet wide, there's a car parked on the street. Now cars, if somebody ever jumped out, there's no place for anybody to go. So we don't think it's a big deal to drop it down to 5 miles an hour. It's not affecting anybody in the town. It's like, I don't know how many people are on our street, if you want to think of all the people, compared to the, I don't know what the population of East Bridgewater is, do you know?
14,000.
14 plus, yeah.
14,000, so if there was 60 people on our street, which, I don't know what the percentages is, it's only like 99.9% of the people aren't going to be affected. We're just talking about our little street, dropping it down to 5 miles an hour, down to 20, for the safety of our grandchildren. That's all we're asking. And it's up, in your authority, you can do it, when you're not going above the law or anything.
Right. Great. So what I'd like to do is, so I know there was some enforcement that was set down there. They did do some signage as well as
Yeah.
for a little bit. So Chief, if you don't mind, our police chief, could you just come up and give us some of the details of the results of what your officers saw when they put the sign down there?
I know we had talked about, we did monitor the area, we put a couple of our cars up there to check it out. But traffic, I mean, the traffic flow since they did end the street in the cul-de-sac now, the traffic has increased. We noticed it was mostly residents and delivery drivers.
Right.
But, I mean, everywhere in town, we do have an issue with speeding, so whether it's 20 or 25, I mean, I know the traffic committee here talked about it, if we want to get into that with the speed humps and everything as well, but in regards to the 20, I mean, I think it's upon the board and the discussions we had, if we want to bring up what we discussed. in regards to that, or-
might be helpful for us.
we are in the process of writing a grant for the upcoming FY '26, and as a part of that, we're getting some signage, which we're going to put more portable signage around town for certain areas like that, leave it there for a period of time, just to get the message out there, what the speed, but, you know, what the speed should be in that area. And I know we talked about that as well, so.
Your opinion, if you don't mind, on the speed humps, you know, if you've been privy to any information from other towns?
I'd like to do that collectively with the traffic.
Yeah.
The committee, we had talked about speed humps, and we looked at a couple of communities, and the pros and the cons, and there's more cons in our opinion. But, I mean, I'd like to bring in the
Yep.
traffic committee a little
You
bit on
don't
that.
want to take the point on that one?
No.
Lead?
I'd rather
All right.
not, but,
You guys want to flip a coin or pull straws? I mean, how you want to?
well, I mean, the big thing, I just
Yeah, I mean-
drag you into it, Bill Ricker.
Well, first is the
Yeah.
can we get a scope of the discussion? Because it feels as though what's in front of the board right now is the reduction of the speed limit on the street to 20 miles an hour.
Yep.
So that's a little bit different than the broader,
Yeah,
you know,
bringing the speed up.
proposal.
Yeah,
Well, we just don't feel as if, according to DOT and from what I've seen, signage doesn't work. So they
But
said
you
the only thing does work.
just discussed a number of things where dropping the speed limit would have these impacts on your street. So I felt as though, to me, your proposal, what you're asking the board initially to do anyway, is to look at reduction of speed on Summit Drive, which would you know,
Right.
through
Reduction of
signage.
speed, either, we would love to see a speed hump, because we know that will work.
I think that's, as we referred to,
Yeah.
that's a different discussion as to whether or not the.
it was initially brought up in the beginning, so that's why I had mentioned it, but I know we're talking about bringing it down to 20, and if that's, you know, if that's what the request is, I don't, you know, that's upon.
There was no resistance in our discussions within the traffic committee. There was no resistance upon, you know, what we would call, you know, these are not even local roads. These are, you know, subdivision ways. They're not throughways. They're dead ends.
Right.
You know, we need to be, as we move forward with this, we need to develop criteria as to what would be an acceptable way. But in our general discussions, a street like Summit Drive would have zero impact from
Our perspective.
our perspective to reduce it down from 25 to 20.
We weren't against that, we're
No.
just looking at, just seeing
The
how well
discussion-
we could do it, and if we can do it.
Right.
Because there have been other areas of town that we've addressed, you know, on a case-by-case basis. If someone came in with a complaint, then we had the ability to have the board and Charlie look into it, and John, and we got the reduction of speed in other areas. So in regards to dropping it to 20, we have no problem with that, it's just the process and how it gets done.
And how it gets done in the future, because this will not be the first request. You are essentially the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Once we do this, everyone, we get a lot of traffic complaints. I mean, I hate to say it, I wish I had manpower to put 10 cars out a day. Right now, I do have a traffic grant going on from June 1st till July 31st. and Overtime that's provided by the federal funds and through the state, but I can't make the guys go out and do that traffic. You know, I put it out there for that. When we have manpower to allow during the days, they do go to the certain areas that we have, traffic complaints. Summit Drive, Washington Street, all these different areas. Like John said, once we open it up to, I want my street 20, then we have to make sure that it just isn't, okay, I want my street 20 miles an hour as well. And there has to be a process that we go about how we do it. So that's what, we formed a committee to talk about the traffic complaints in town, and this has been a great deal of our discussion, is how we can reduce the speed in our neighborhoods. Because my kids were born, I've been in this town for 31 years, they speed through my neighborhood. It's frustrating, I know. So we're looking at alternative ways how we can do that. Like I said, I'm in the middle of writing a grant. I'm gonna get some portable signs up there that'll flash the speed like you see in other communities. And when we get complaints, we put it up there for a few weeks, make the people that are going up and down the street aware of what the speed really is, and then hopefully that helps as well. And some permanent signage, but it's not, once again, it's just, these things cost money. I mean, just the particular sign like I'm talking about, the average cost is probably $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to, when you're talking solar, the flashing lights. And even just to put a sign up that says 20 miles per hour, there is cost involved, there's manpower, et cetera. So we just have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
What would be the cost of a speed hump?
A great deal.
It's significant. Speed bumps first have to be engineered. There's a number of factors that would have to go into that. Drainage considerations, particularly on Summit Drive. Where is it going to be located? Because I get the sense you have a 700-foot road. Who gets to have the speed bump in front of their house?
Yeah.
And who responds to that when every time there's significant
Noise.
impacts of, again, when you have this bump put in front of your house. But even to that, who wants the speed hump? And how many speed humps are we gonna put in? Because one is not gonna slow them down at the, so where's it gonna go? That's not an arbitrary decision. That needs to be engineered.
And
These
the
things-
liability, I mean, the huge liability. is-
So when they're done, it has to go through an engineering study. We'd have to look at drainage impacts, because now we put a speed bump across a road. You also have ADA compliance, because they work in a city, because you're typically in the cities the majority of them are at crosswalks. That's where you see the speed humps. And their purpose is, just like they serve an exact purpose, and I do not disagree.
Yeah.
But you'll notice where they're located is very congested areas that already sort of lend themselves to that. So this would, again, that conversation would require significantly more information in decision-making and funding. I mean, you're talking about, you don't just put them in place, you have to excavate out the area of the road, build them into the roadway surface. It's not
For
as simple.
everyone you do, so.
Yeah, for everyone you do.
You need signs.
The engineering costs a lot more than the signs we could probably get to try and make the public more aware of what the speeds are in each
That's
community.
what I was
So
thinking.
we get one of those new flashing signs, we put on Summit Drive, we leave it there for 2-3 weeks. The people that commonly travel that road will know, okay, it's 20 miles an hour. It'll hopefully make them aware of it. So that's one solution we're looking at.
We need to also take in consideration, Summit Drive is a little different than most cul-de-sac roads. We have Thayer Ave that runs straight through. We have a majority of people who take Summit Drive thinking it's Thayer Ave.
Yeah.
And they go flying down when they realize it's not. Besides being irritated, they come flying back up even faster to get off the street to get to the correct road that they're on. And I see a lot of that.
Like I said, we get numerous complaints from a lot of the residents. And then, like I said, I hate to say it, when we do get certain complaints, I'll put cars up there discreetly. We had a similar area. You know what it was most of the time? It was the residents and the delivery drivers. It was more of the time, it was the residents that lived in the area that were speeding than the other people in the neighborhood. So it's, every neighborhood has their problems, and
These
it's
are
just,
people who are either trying to come up and cut across and they realize after they got onto Summit Drive that they're not getting
I
any.
think-
Public aware, everybody's on their phones now.
I think
Oh, yeah.
it's because so
That's
many
the problem.
people drive with Waze.
Yeah.
These people don't know where they're going,
Yeah.
and they're looking, and they look up, and all of a sudden, here's my left,
Right.
Well, no, that's not my right, it's the next right, so I gotta come back through, it's just,
But we're very proactive on the speed, and we're looking at, like I said, different solutions to that. And if it's a matter of dropping it to 25 to 20, and if that can be done, then that's the first step. And as we get those signs through the public grant, then we could throw it in the neighborhood for a while and see what happens, and go from there, and make them more aware of the speed in your neighborhood.
Yeah, when you talk about signage, there is a sign at the end of the street that says dead end.
correct.
So this
So-
is
we
there's an
have-
example of a sign right there.
Right,
Dead
we
end
have
street, you
upgraded
still go down.
signage, we have the larger,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
street signage throughout town, there's, well, KISS. You know, keep it simple, and
So I have a
some things
question.
we can't fix.
In the interest of kind of navigating the conversation here, I want to take a second and just say the Traffic Advisory Committee at this point has advised against speed humps, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I think, you know, now that we have this understanding that the Traffic Advisory Committee has suggested that speed humps is not going to be something that the town should pursue, I think we should scope the discussion around speed and what needs to be done. And I think the police chief at this point has discussed that, you know, putting portable signs out there. At this point, have there been portable signs put on Summit Drive since this issue was brought to the select board?
Not since then, no.
Okay, so,
Oh, I thought you had them out
No,
for
you put it-
a couple of
Do
weeks.
we have a new signage up?
We have new speed limit signs. We don't have I think what she's referring to are
The
other.
portable flashing sign.
The portable
Right,
yes.
the
Oh,
RFIs.
okay, I thought when,
okay, so, you know, I,
25,
Yeah.
right now, or halfway down.
No, right at the first pole, right at my driveway.
Is it 25?
Halfway down, it's clear, only one, nothing coming up.
There wasn't one on the other side?
Not that I know of.
No, we didn't.
There's no poles, there's no poles on the other side.
John, when did you install the,
The street's too narrow.
After the board's initial decision to lower it from 30, we essentially went from thickly settled being a 30 mile an hour.
25?
And then we actually put up signs that stated that the speed limit on the, one sign, replaced the thickly settled sign
Yep.
with the 25 mile an hour sign, because to this point, thickly settled in East Bridgewater is a understood speed limit of 30 miles an hour.
Right.
So we removed the thickly settled sign, so there'd be no question about that. Installed the 25 mile an hour sign in its place. And we did not put one for people exiting with the understanding that, well, if you're a resident there, you already were aware of this situation. Ours was more the idea that these were delivery drivers and perhaps people that were misdirected or whatnot, and they would be aware of the speed limit essentially as soon as they turned on to Summit Drive to slow. So this would be a new request, I guess, to drop an additional 5 miles per hour.
okay, so the 25 sign has been replaced, and how long has that
The
been?
25 mile an hour is in place because we removed the thickly settled
Okay.
sign. Took that down, put the 25 mile an hour up, I don't know, 6 weeks?
6 weeks, okay. And in those 6 weeks, have we had,
Flashing portable sign,
No, we haven't.
it wasn't at the beginning?
okay,
No, because on our letter, on the other meeting, it says in the letter here from the select person, people, it says the board has also directed the Director of Public Works to install appropriate signs, including a radar speed sign to support this change.
which I think is different than portable signs,
Correct.
correct? Okay. So, you know, I think at this point, if we're addressing the scope and being speed, we've had the sign there for 6 weeks. I think it takes, maybe we need a little longer to have a portable sign out there in the area, and see what effects that makes and what, you know, that changes look like. And you more than happy to have you guys come back and discuss, you know, if you guys have seen a change with the portable sign out there. In regards to installing a flashing sign, I think has that been in front of the Traffic Advisory Committee yet or voted on?
In regards to the traffic sign,
With the flashers, the one with the
Yeah,
flashers?
no.
Okay, so I think,
Not a permanent.
Well, there was
one, it'd be
okay,
like-
not a
There was
permanent one.
discussion, we were
Okay.
not supportive of installing a permanent, they call them RFIs, so they're, and I can never remember what RFI means, the definition of it, but it essentially relays that information back to you on a
Okay.
regular, Because those are the street signs that we've talked about. They're upwards of $3,000 to $4,000.
Correct.
Per sign to
Yeah.
go in. What Chief Jenkins is discussing are the mobile, so you look, and they can be moved around town. I think right now we have, the station has two,
We have two.
that they move upon citizen request.
Right.
That's what the traffic committee was in favor of, installing that, when it's available on the street, because that is, makes residents particularly aware of their speed. And
Yes.
leaving that in place for a week to 10 days or so to see if that helps in conjunction with the speed limit being lowered.
Yeah, I think that that's something that if, we can have for the folks on Summit Drive, just so that we can handle, like, this is our next step, this is the next step and what it may look like. I think at this point, we have an understanding that there's not going to be a speed hump, and I think,
A permanent
speed.
sign yeah.
Right.
A permanent sign is not feasible.
Chief, do you have, so I said it on that meeting as well, so and I think you said you have you'll have something available within a short period of time as far
Yes.
as the mobile?
We have just the mobile ones that we can use. A permanent one, it's
Right.
probably quadruple the cost.
Right.
I think right now the board needs to just kind of look at, first, do we want to, do a reduction in the speed from 25 to 20? And that being said, if we vote in favor of that, then we should, obviously put the mobile unit down there, either way, just to see if there's, some reaction to that for
The mobile, I thought, it was my misunderstanding that it was up there, but then
Yeah, I did find
when it
this.
was decided on where it was a permanent thing,
Yep.
it was a big difference, so that's where we kind of looked, we had the discussions about the permanent one or the mobile one.
Right.
But a permanent one's not feasible. If we got a request to put a permanent one, they're probably upwards to 10, 15,000. And like John said, in the grant, I am writing for some of those, but they're portable ones, but we can actually get the data on them. Every car that goes by, you can get the average miles per hour and everything, which will be very helpful in the future.
Sure.
It'll track the cars that go by. You get Bluetooth technology comes right back, and we can see what the average speed was on the street for the week. So we'd be prepared like this for something like that. And that's with one of the mobile ones, I'm hoping it gets.
The traffic study committee is a work in progress too. Like, one of the things we'll do is we're working on developing criteria. So when a request like this comes in and we place a portable sign, a mobile RFR sign in place, how many
process?
days
Right.
will it stay there for? How much
And I
data
think-
will we collect?
I think that is something that, last meeting I brought up too is that, what does that process look like where we do install the permanent sign? What does that look like? I think this is kind of, we're learning, Summit Drive is we're taking this and using it as a learning experience, especially with how we're going to handle the speeding in the area. And I think specifically now, we've had the thickly settled sign, which was replaced 6 weeks ago with the 25-mile-an-hour sign. I think before we decide to change it now down to 20, I would like to see the portable sign out there, at least for a small amount of time, to see what changes are made, because I think we've said, I know you gave examples of stopping, what that looks like versus 25 miles an hour at 20 miles an hour. I think first we should see kind of what having a portable sign out there might do, and then kind of take action on changing it again, because I giving it 6 weeks, it doesn't seem like a long time. I think it might need more, if that's,
Carol, what do you think?
I think we should drop it to 20,
Yep.
because we did the 25 because we believed that's what we could do, not necessarily, and that was the only thing we could
Right.
do at that time. Now we know we can go to 20. You guys have come before us so many times to talk about this. We really, I think, have learned, getting more information from traffic study, that the speed humps really aren't a viable option. And not because, it's a bad idea for your street. Obviously, it's really important to you. But if we have to invest that kind of money into roads in town, we have to look at all of the roads in town and where we're gonna get, the most. We have so many roads that need repairs that, would have to take priority. So I feel like that's really is off the table, like you alluded to. But I feel comfortable reducing the speed to 20 at this point, and at least giving you guys part of what you've asked for, in response to your concerns, and reducing the amount of feet that someone can stop and all that. I don't think it's a bad idea at this point. I would be comfortable doing that.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's, if you mind, make a motion towards that. We can have a little more discussion.
Yeah, I
Just
make a
briefly.
motion that we reduce the speed on Summit Drive to 20 miles per hour, according to this
Yep.
Mass General Law.
We just need a second so we can discuss it.
Mhm.
Motion made and seconded. I mean, so I agree with you in the aspect of, so when you originally came in here, I don't think there was anything, right? There was a thickly settled sign, and that was it. There was no number that was associated with it. So when we originally talked about this, and this is, like I said earlier, I mean, it's probably only been 2 or 3. It seems like you've been here for a couple of months, you know, meeting with us. So my concern, I think the board's concern at that time was, you know, we got to get a number up there, because thickly settled, I wouldn't have been known unless John had just told me what thickly settled
You're
even
supposed to
meant.
know that when you get your driver's license.
Yeah, okay.
It's all
Well,
insurance.
it's been a minute since I got my license. Yeah, I should probably go back and read the book and read
I
it.
bet you have them right at your
Yeah,
office.
right. So, my thought is probably on the same length as yours. Like, we've had it for a bit, you know, another 5. Again, I give credit to people when they come in and they actually, you know, show the passion and desire to get something accomplished like that, especially in your neighborhood. So if, you know, if we get 20 streets that want to do the type of research and work that you
It
had to do.
could be a slippery slope.
It could be, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, that's just, you know, my feeling. You want to add anything else?
Yeah, it's not that I'm opposed to it, I guess I just am of the mindset of, you know, if we're gonna be, the traffic advisory committee is gonna be having a set of processes that, you know, this is the route that we take when someone comes in with a speed issue. It's not that I don't think that it's a good idea, I'm somebody who wants to see, you know, what the steps are where we get to a point where we change the speed limit. And, you know, granted, I know I'm kind of coming in halfway through this specific issue, so maybe that's why I'm more hesitant. But, you know, I think changing the speed, like you said, we're kind of setting a precedent of how many people are going to come in and say, you know, we want this speed reduction, and then how many signs are there going to be? How much does it cost? Actually, if I could ask a question to Mr. Haynes, how much does it cost to put up a new sign?
Stationary street sign is on average about $250 now.
Okay, so my concern here is, you know, if we're going to, you guys have come in and come forward, you know, what does this process look like where we change it? You know, I know we're not changing this one on a whim, it's been a little bit, so I'm just hesitant with that, where the next person comes in and it's 25 miles an hour and they want to change it to 20, you know, are they going to have to go through the same process that Summit Drive went through? What does that look like? So I guess that's where it's not that I'm opposed to changing it, I guess it's just I want to make sure that we're setting Summit Drive with a process, or, you know, we can approve this, but, you know, the traffic advisory committee needs to come up with a set of processes where, you know, this is the steps that you have to go through in order for that, you know, mile per hour change.
Well, I think currently the steps would be what these gentlemen did and women, you know, so they have to approach us. We go back to the study committee to get their recommendations and changes based on what they're asking for. They're asking for a sign, they're asking for speed humps, what the case may be, and then look at it. You know, but my other concern is obviously, it's been, again, back to my meetings, right? It's been 3 or 4 meetings. I don't want to see, you know, everybody that does come in have to come in, you know, 7, 8 times, not just for the benefit of them, but for the benefit of the board as well. I mean, you know, we'll be looking at each way, so, go ahead.
So, just in closing, so I think that, you know, the board obviously didn't understand what they were voting for in the last time, because they approved a permanent sign. Apparently, they didn't understand what they were voting on. So we're not gonna get the speed hump, we're not gonna get a portable sign.
We will.
Well, I mean a permanent sign, because I'm thinking of the one that has the speed, and then above it, it flashes and said, you're going too fast, and it shows you can compare, which really works, I think works good.
That's what the portable sign is.
The portable sign is the same thing, but we
Okay.
just
They want it there
can't make it permanent.
Right, well, I think that's what we thought we would get,
Yeah.
because it says it right here, they voted for it, and approved it, and directed you to do it.
And the particular ones that do that, we don't even have those, right? I'm hoping to get that style.
Right.
The ones we have right now just flash your speed.
Okay.
Doesn't give a comparison, just flashes what your speed is.
Well,
But if it's posted 25,
Right.
then obviously they'll know that if it's over or under. Because we do have the 25-mile-an-hour sign, so we'd put it right where this 25-mile-an-hour sign is,
Okay.
right below it.
I mean, that was definitely my impression.
Right.
Carol, yeah, the same thing. So,
I mean, yeah, we didn't
25.
get what we were directed to, we thought we would get.
Well,
So-
once I saw permanent, I mean, that's what, that's
Yeah.
the difference. I mean, we don't have permanent ones to install.
So we didn't get that, and I just want to read one paragraph from this that I handed out last time, because it keeps coming up with, oh, well, if we put it here, we're gonna get it somewhere, everybody's gonna want it. Well, I think you have, I know when I went for variances, we had to, when I went for a variance in my house, you had to have a specific reason, so that people couldn't come up and say, well, Arioli got it, why can't I get it? Well, you had your reasons. Well, I think Summit Drive has unique reasons, and you're not gonna get a lot of people, because unless you meet these reasons, and I wanna read them one more time before we leave. So why Summit Drive is uniquely suited for intervention. It's not a throughway. Summit Drive is a local access, only street ending in 2 cul-de-sacs. The vast majority of traffic is from residents, guests, and delivery services. So that's one point. So these people would have to have that going for them. Short length, high risk. According to Google Maps, Summit Drive measures just over a quarter of a mile from West Union Street down to the cul-de-sac. That's even further down than we measured, because we figured the curve, people are slowing down on the curve. This short stretch concentrates foot traffic and vehicle interaction. Vulnerable population, most residents are either under 12 or over 60, both considered vulnerable road users. No sidewalks, narrow width, pedestrians including families with strollers and seniors with mobility issues are forced to walk in the travel lane. There's no buffer between walkers and vehicles. Frequent conflict points, numerous driveways and narrow roads increase the chances of conflict between drivers and pedestrians.
Can I just reiterate one thing that I think is important? And the Traffic Study Committee is a relatively new committee because of issues like this arising. There needs to be criteria developed, but I also want you to understand it is not a unique situation. Actually, the town of East Bridgewater has 84 accepted miles of roadway, and 44 miles of those would meet the same criteria. There's subdivision, local roads, not connected roads. The majority of, so 50% plus of our accepted ways in East Bridgewater are residential developments, subdivisions. So it's not an entirely unique situation that these requests will come forward. We've had numerous of them already, and most of the speeding concerns actually do tend to be within, that I've seen anyway, the chief will be more familiar, but seem to be within the subdivisions. That's where the people are most concerned, as they have every right to be, and they should be. But it's not a unique, that's our concern here when we talk about these. These are not unique situations. Again, half of the mileage of paved surface in East Bridgewater happens to be in residential subdivisions that mirror Summit Drive. Many of them were original, roads that were constructed 40, 50, 60 years ago, developments that have since been extended, such as Summit Drive. I mean, Summit Drive was essentially doubled in length.
Right.
And now has, it's created some of these concerns as well, because now the road is twice as long as it used to be, which means people will move more quickly to get to the end of that. So I hear your concerns, I think everyone does, but to Select Person Mullins' point, I think we need to have an opportunity to really develop criteria around what is going to be a standard so that it can easily be understood by all, and that the board can understand that, because I was under the impression that, and just for clarification, so that when the Board of Selectmen, Select Board made that recommendation, they were under the understanding that a permanent RFR speed limit sign was going to be installed there, that essentially, and I think you all know what I'm talking about, right? Where you can drive by it, it reflects your speed, tells you how fast you're going versus, because those, even the solar ones, are about $3,000. So
I think if we looked back at the meeting, I don't think that the board said anything about a permanent signage. It was always portable.
Right.
So I mean, we could look back at the meeting, but pretty positive for the past 2 meetings, we've said portable, not
That's what we
permanent.
thought.
And we still want, I mean, that's what we're, what we've got on the table right now is, the potential of reduction to 20 miles an hour, and then the portable sign from the police department to help curb the situation.
To make them aware of what it is.
Right. Now, let's be honest. I mean, this, the traffic committee that I sat in the meeting, that's fairly new and has to develop that criteria, you surely don't want to sit around and wait for that. I mean, it's, it takes time. I mean, municipal government moves.
Slow,
Thank
very
you.
slow.
So, I mean, like I said, I think this, again, I don't know if this, is something that's going to help, but it's certainly in a direction, I think, based on the vote, that I think is at least in what we hope to accomplish. Again, we take these traffic complaints very serious when they come in front of us. You see a guardrail on Bridge Street. I mean, that was quite the process with Mr. Litchfield that we had to go through. Pond Street with a couple of accidents down there. So, we look at every case individually, and, based on what you had just said earlier about, that particular area, we certainly look at all that criteria when we make a decision. So, I'm, again, we're gonna, take a look.
Traffic Study Committee recommended the 20 miles an hour, correct?
They didn't oppose it.
Okay.
They didn't oppose it.
Okay.
Yes.
What John said about all the cul-de-sacs in town, and everybody has, we don't, on Summit Drive, do not have a unique situation. I think the age of the cul-de-sac makes a difference, because I think, I don't know when, but most recently, maybe in the last 25 years or so, the developer is required to put in a sidewalk, at least on one side. Our street, when it was just a dead end before the cul-de-sac, doesn't have a sidewalk on either side. So if it's a new cul-de-sac, it probably has at least one sidewalk. The older cul-de-sacs, I think, probably don't.
Depends on the length of the street.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, typically the planning board will waive the requirement for I believe they waive the requirement for a sidewalk if it's less than 800 or 1,000 feet in length.
Right. Because Susan's Place has none. That's pretty new. That'd be considered a cul-de-sac, right? They don't have any sidewalk.
No, we don't have any sidewalk.
Right.
Yeah, well, there's a sidewalk.
Oh, the sidewalks in the new section.
In the new section.
New section has 5.
By the way, next time you're trimming branches, they could be trimmed.
Because then we can see the houses from Randy's kids.
Well, let's see what this, like I said, we got a motion on the table to reduce the speed to 20 miles an hour, work with the police department to put up the mobile sign, flashing sign for a period of time, whatever you deem, I would say 3-4 weeks, or whatever the case may be, they usually do. Right, okay. Any other questions or discussion? All right, so I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Sorry. I'm gonna say aye for this specific example, for you folks, because you've done your due diligence in coming forward, but I do have to say, going forward, and I just want this on the record, is that I do think the Traffic Advisory Committee does need to set up criteria to get to this point. I think you folks have really come forward and shown your due diligence, and I can tell, especially with, I know this is Erin written all over it, so I appreciate you guys coming forward, but I do want to say, and I feel like I've come in halfway with this and wasn't able to see the whole thing, but I just wanted to say, I am going to vote aye, but I do want certain criteria for this going forward. I feel like we've been all over the place with this case, but I think going forward we need more structure. But I will say aye for you folks, okay?
Okay, so the vote's been taken, now all set.
Thank you.
All right, we'll start there.
Thank you.
On behalf of our grandchildren, we thank you.
Well, let's hope it helps.
We hope so.
All right, so,
Moving right along.
right, yeah.
What did you say about municipal government moving slow?
We're gonna see how long that
I said, what did you
criteria
say
comes.
about municipal government moving slow?
I'll see what we can do. Yeah, I mean, I know drainage and things like that.
All right, we'll see you, Chief.
Yeah,
Hi. All right, so we've got a 6:30 that turned into 6:50. Sorry. We apologize.
It's so government is
things
slow.
the fort down downstairs without me. I'll get down there.
Our meetings
Thank
are
you.
slow, government is
Perfect.
slow.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
You should just be able to hit the arrows there, middle.
That's on you.
Bring that gap.
I can do that, actually. I thought I can handle
All right, unfortunately, we have another appointment, so hit the street.
But don't speed.
All right, don't speed, yes. Go slow. All right, I'm sorry. Why don't you guys tell us who you are, what you're doing here, and we can start this appointment up.
Sure. My name is Vicki Butler. I am the Executive Director for Plymouth County Outreach.
Cecilia Cacciatore. I am a detective here at the East Bridgewater Police Department. I'm also one of the outreach officers that works with Plymouth County Outreach.
So just real quick, I guess the purpose of why we're here is we're a grant-funded program. We've been grant-funded since 2018. Prior to that, we didn't have funding, a lot of volunteers. But our grant funding will be running out within the next few years. We have an award that's going to end this September and one that will end the September after. And so we're trying to be proactive in looking for ways to continue to support the program. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the program and answer any questions that you guys might have. And Cecilia has been a really dedicated outreach officer since the program inception. And so I think she's a great person to have here to talk about how it's impacted her from the officer side as well as an East Bridgewater person. Yeah. So Plymouth County Outreach is a collaboration of the 27 municipal police departments in Plymouth County as well as Bridgewater State University Police Department, working together with community organizations and coalitions to make treatment, resources, harm reduction tools more accessible to people who use substances and their loved ones, with the goal of reducing overdose fatalities. So actually, let's go back one more. I'll expand on this a little bit. I forgot we moved the slides around.
We did.
So the program started at the end of 2015 when law enforcement noticed a surge in fatal overdoses. I think it was particularly among young people, and it was at that point where we hear about that change in perspective. So these are, this is something that can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter where you live or where you grew up. But it was at that point where we identified the need to do more. We can't just respond to these overdoses to then transport someone to the hospital and turn around and be responding back to that home same day, next day.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah, people aren't accessing services. How do we help? Because we can't just sit by and watch as people are losing their lives. As family members are reaching out for help, we have nowhere to send them. And so the program started as a post-overdose follow-up program. So we partner plainclothes police officers and unmarked cruisers alongside a recovery coach. All of our recovery coaches are in recovery themselves, so they bring that peer perspective, which we know is really important. And actually all of our staff are, if they're not in recovery, they've been directly impacted by a family member struggling with that. So that's how it started. And then, again, early on we had families reaching out saying, does my loved one have to overdose in order to have an outreach visit? And certainly we didn't want that to be the case. And so we came up with this more proactive approach, the at-risk referral, which I'll show you some data on, where people could proactively make referrals, put referrals in. My loved one is actively using substances. Maybe they haven't overdosed yet, but I know it's going to happen at some point. Can you help them? Referrals can come in from anyone. It could be from a police officer out on patrol. It could be a family member, a friend, a treatment provider at the school systems. Really, it can come in from anywhere. And again, it's that more proactive approach where we're able to get out and help people.
And those at-risk follow-ups, I would say they're definitely probably the more prevalent follow-up that we do and that we go on. I myself personally have gotten phone calls from people in the community, from different departments all over, requesting help, whether it's people in resident who live here, whether they live here, and it's family members outside. So it doesn't have to be a call that police directly respond to, but it's a program that Vicki and her team have been awesome and proactively going to help people.
And the importance of that countywide approach, we noticed early on about 35% of people overdosed in a community other than where they resided. So if we didn't all work together, the entire county, that's a lot of people that would fall through the cracks as to what you just all right, go for it. And the other thing we just wanted to mention is the situation tables, formerly known as the Hub. It's a model that was started in Canada. They saw great success there. We launched our countywide hubs at the time, early in 2020, and then of course the pandemic hit, so it was a little bit rough to get started. We recently relaunched the situation tables, but really what this is it aims to bring together multiple service providers to address the needs of individuals and families who meet acutely elevated risk. So we know that if we don't intervene now, that next week or the week after, like something bad we know is going to happen if we don't respond now. So it operates on a 4-filter system to ensure confidentiality. It covers 105 different risk factors in 27 different categories. Substance use does not need to be one of those risk factors, but it often is. And it's intended to be proactive rather than reactive. We have 4 situation tables within Plymouth County broken down by court district.
And I think this has become a really big tool, not just for East Bridgewater, but for all the Plymouth County communities, because especially for us, we used to be a part of a grant with the local towns, and that provided us with a jail diversion clinician. So it was a mental health clinician that we used to be able to respond with, and she was a great resource for helping with our mental health calls, which are very high. But this situation table, now that we haven't had a clinician for years, has been able to kind of fill that gap in, because there are clinicians at this table. There are other resources that connect us to mental health resources when officers need to give that information out. I've brought a few different, both family situations and individual situations to this table. Like Vicki said, some of those included substance use, some didn't. And we were able to help connect those people to resources, whether it was housing, whether it was mental health, whether it was family resources, food, and literally anything.
I think this is actually a good point to highlight my kind of East Bridgewater success with that. So one of the individuals we met on a follow-up about a year ago continues to be in regular touch with one of our recovery coaches. So he came to our attention because this person experienced an overdose. So upon doing the outreach visit, this person identified a list of other things that they had going on in their lives that they identified as contributing to their substance use. This individual was behind on their mortgage, in need of mental health services, in need of employment, food, and other basic needs. We were able to promptly introduce this person to the situation table, where we could quickly connect them with resources in all of those areas. This individual is no longer behind on their mortgage, has secured employment, has been connected to mental health resources and other resources to ensure their basic needs are met. We're able to get this individual transportation to and from our drop-in location, so they have the opportunity to attend our all recovery meetings and meet with their recovery coach regularly. And then this individual has not experienced any additional overdoses since that first interaction. So we collect really good, like, real-time data. So we know the state data lags a little bit. It's great when we get that data, but if we're looking at data that's 6 months behind, we can't really respond at that point because we see trends changing all the time. So we collect real-time data. This is just an example of our point map. This is our fatal overdoses throughout the county, but we can do this mapping in any of our communities, which really helps us to identify hotspots at any given time. And then that same map for our non-fatal overdoses. This is just looking at countywide, since we really, the program started at the end of 2015, but our good data collection started in 2017. So this is taking a look at the decreases in fatal overdoses that we've seen countywide since we started collecting data. As you can see, we've had huge success, starting at 147 fatal overdoses in that first year, and then recording 75 this past year. 75 too many, but we are making progress, and we can see that this is data that shows that the work that we're doing along with all of our community partners is making an impact.
I think it's also important to note that, it's also that the fatal overdose numbers are going down. It's not, and that's a good tribute to the at-risk follow-ups and the non-fatal overdose follow-ups, but we're also still doing follow-ups for fatal overdoses. And that is more geared toward giving families grief support and other family resources that they might need. And this has also been well received by the community. I know I've gone out on several of these fatal overdose follow-ups with a specific recovery. She's not a recovery coach, but she's there for grief support. She lost her son, and so she goes out. She has a group and she shares it with people. So we've been able to give that resource to these members of the community, so then they don't have to kind of go through this whole thing alone.
And I think you bring up a great point. Is the substance use and the addiction goes so far beyond just the person who's impacted. It really is a family disease, and so Like Cecilia mentioned, we do have the grief support. We also have family support. So if we're going out on visits and the family, oftentimes there's just as much stigma for them, and they don't know, who to reach out to or who to turn to for advice for themselves. And so we have family support specialists who, again, have their own lived experience as being, a spouse or a parent, bless you, of someone who's been directly impacted. So we're able to connect family members and loved ones to this family support so that we can help kind of all the individuals who are impacted by this. And then here's some town-specific data, just looking at the last few years, but certainly if you wanted dating back further, we could absolutely get that for you. So the light blue to the far left is going to be the 2022 numbers, the 2023 numbers are in the middle, and then the 2024 numbers. So 3 fatal overdoses in 2022 and 2023, and then 2 fatal overdoses in the East Bridgewater community in 2024. And I also would like to note that these numbers are incidents that occur in East Bridgewater, not always East Bridgewater residents. And then so for our non-fatal overdoses, we recorded 14 in 2022, 12 in 2023, and 10 in 2024. And then as Cecilia mentioned, that at-risk category is really where we're seeing a lot more.
Yeah, and it's important to note it's not just people calling for opioid use. It could be alcohol is one of our, I think, highest at-risk follow-up calls we go on, people struggling with alcohol. It could be prescription meds. It's a whole host of things. It's not just opioids.
Which has been really helpful when we're seeing the trends change. When we started this program, it really was focused on opioid overdoses, and we've seen a lot of other substances being laced with fentanyl. Those individuals aren't necessarily prepared for an opioid overdose, so it gives us the opportunity to go out and educate the community as well. So if you're using any substances that aren't, prescribed from the pharmacy, you need to be aware that it could be laced with fentanyl, and provide them that education and Narcan resources and harm reduction tools. And then to put that into perspective a little bit, so it's not just like, we do one follow-up and then we're done. We'll continue to engage with that person as long as necessary. Sometimes people experience multiple incidents and we're going out numerous times. There could be a few years between incidents, but again, we're going to support them for as long as they need. The goal is that we're able to get them connected to resources within the community, but sometimes maybe the individual doesn't have health insurance or they don't have the right kind of health insurance. We're not insurance-based, so someone not having insurance isn't going to impact our team being able to work with them. So we attempted in 2024 a total of 149 follow-up visits in the community of East Bridgewater. 102 of those, or 68%, were successful in having contact with either the individual who overdosed or had some kind of an incident, a family member, a friend, or both. So of the 89 visits where we were successful in engaging with the person who the incident was for, 51 of those times the individual accepted some kind of services from the outreach team, or 57% of the time. 38% of the time they were already seeking services, and 5% of the time, or 4 of those incidents, the individual declined services. So we're not going out and forcing anyone to do anything. We're just going out, first and foremost, checking in, like, how are you doing? We know that your family recently experienced this incident. What can we do to support you? And then of the 18 successful contacts with a family member or friend, 14 of those individuals accepted some kind of resources or assistance for themselves. And then I also just wanted to note that on those visits, we're bringing out resource packets. Those are vetted resources. We update those packets regularly. We're able to leave so that the family or the individual is able to digest the information, look through it. They can call us back at any point if they've had, an opportunity to read through the information and they want to access any of those services. If we go somewhere and someone is like, I want to go to treatment today, we're going to sit there with them and we're going to make the phone calls. And Cecilia has a few of those visits to highlight as well. And then we're bringing out harm reduction kits, Narcan, basic needs, supplies on those visits with us that we'll leave behind with the individuals. I think we have,
at the end, yeah.
we have a slide for it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, all right. I was like, wait, we are out of order. And then so we also have a physical drop-in location. So we have open hours where anyone can drop in Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday between the hours of 11 and 5, Saturday between 10 and 2. Again, anyone can just walk in. They can come in for an appointment. If they need to come in outside of those hours, we're happy to do that by appointment as well. During those hours, we also have our recovery coaches who are running all recovery groups and meetings, but we can help with whatever it is. So if someone comes in and they just need a box of Narcan, that's fine. We've had people come in asking, to go to detox. We'll sit there, make the phone calls, and make sure that we're removing any barriers. So if they don't have transportation, we have a Lyft account. We're going to make sure that they get to treatment. So that's in Kingston. Like I mentioned in my story here, we do have, one particular resident in East Bridgewater that comes to mind that, we're regularly transporting back and forth so that he can attend those groups, so that he can meet with his recovery coach. She oftentimes, it's funny that the library got brought up, she oftentimes will come here and meet with this individual at the library when he's not wanting to come to Kingston. So we really, again, are trying to remove the barriers that prevent people from accessing the resources that they need. A few other things that I just wanted to mention. We are a national mentor site for the Bureau of Justice and Assistance. We have held that position since 2019, and so we help police departments around the country implement similar programs in their own communities. So they come here to Plymouth County, they shadow our outreach teams for like a day and a half to 2 days, and then they bring that information back, and we'll stay with them and work with them through that process. But I think, there are a lot of different programs that pop up that are in individual communities. It's very rare that you see a countywide program like this that works so well through pretty much, when I started, we've had almost complete leadership turnover. And I think it really says a lot about the program that we're able to maintain that buy-in through leadership turnover like that. We've presented nationally several times at different conferences. And then I already mentioned kind of our funding. So we've had 4 different awards, but these awards are to be used for program startup. And so we are not at that point anymore, unfortunately, where we can use those startup funds and have been working with our TA providers to talk through sustainability of the program.
Vicki mentioned buy-in from the leaders, even with all the turnover, but I also have noticed a significant buy-in now from a lot of police officers who originally were kind of turned off by this idea of helping, I kind of thought it was like a lost cause situation a lot of these times, but now I have officers that will either seek me out or send me an email, even if they think that it might have been a situation or an incident where they're not sure if they need services, but they think that maybe they were going through a hard time, and they asked if I would reach out directly or bring a recovery coach. And it's been well received and made the officers, I think, more confident going out to these calls, knowing they have resources to offer them, knowing they can educate people while they're there. And it's all, thanks to Vicki going out and training all these people and making sure that information is out there and that we're actually following through reaching these people.
Team effort, because I think it's equally as important that we have outreach officers like Cecilia and officers from all of our communities that are bought in, because I think it allows people to see law enforcement in a different light when they're showing up and they're saying, like, knocking on the door and saying, like, you're not in trouble, we want to help you, like, we know that something happened here, and I think it really goes a long way in the community to see that. And then I'm sure everyone's seen this, but kind of wanting to end with this slide, a lot of the communities, as you can see on that map, have received opioid settlement funds and aren't using them. And so we thought this was a great opportunity to, as we're starting to plan for sustainability, come to our the select boards and each of our communities and request that we might use this money to be able to sustain a program that is working really well. It's been working really well in our community, and I would hate to see something like this go away when it's specifically mentioned as one of the allowable uses for Massachusetts abatement terms.
And like Vicki said, she has grown this program. I say we has. She's grown this program to be so much more than just opiate overdose follow-ups. With all of these different resources. And like I said, it's a hard thing for us officers to go out and do some community policing or be that social worker aspect on some of these calls without having these other connections. And this program has brought us to all of these other things, not just opioid overdose, outreach, but the grief support, but the family support, mental health resources. Again, because we don't have that clinician piece anymore, this allows us to touch all these different functions in our community. The hospital staff, just almost everything now is a part of PCO. Even I'm a part of a human trafficking task force in Plymouth County, And Vicky's team has gone out and done a lot of training with that, because there's a lot of overlap between survivors and substance use, and it's spreads to different parts of the world we live in, and that's kind of forgotten sometimes. So briefly, I won't talk long, but I'll highlight two. Mentioned earlier, taking the time to go out on these follow-ups, and if we have to sit there for hours and make phone calls, we will. I think a lot of times people are lost when they want to get to a bed, and it's late at night, or they just don't know who to call, and they don't know what information they need. And the recovery coaches that I've brought out on one call specifically, I can think of, they know what they're doing, and they've been through the process because they're in recovery themselves. So we went and talked to this person one day who was clearly in a crisis. We had been responding to the home several times as law enforcement for various outbursts, different things. Clearly the individual was struggling with alcohol and some prescription use. And the recovery coach I brought not only sat there, spent hours calming him down, explaining his options, was able to get on the phone with him while he was kind of in a manic state, and called, I think, at least 4 different places until we got him a bed, got this individual packed up, and waited for his family to drive him that night to treatment. And I can safely say I don't think we have been there for any substance use related issues since that happened. Another one was more like a long-term person that we've been dealing with. And again, as far as I know, this person has been sober and really been sticking to it. Vicky was one of the recovery coaches who went out with me more recently and spoke to her, but she was originally part of our program 3 or 4 years ago. Was one of her first incidences, and it was a recovery coach that's no longer with us. We went out there. It took us a few tries, but we stayed in touch. She reached out to this recovery coach on and off for months. She eventually got her into a long-term treatment program. She did great for a couple years, and as part of recovery, relapses happened. And then we were able to pick that right back up and go out, and without hesitation, she was just like, yeah, I need the help again. And that connection was kind of there with the program. So just a couple examples of how we are going out in the community. It may not be known, and maybe that's kind of a good thing. I think a lot of people in East Bridgewater, I don't want to say live in a bubble, but we try to keep this a very, happy, friendly community, and we just want to know that we are there to help people, and it's not a scary thing, and yeah.
And then the last thing I just want to mention before we take any questions is the town of East Bridgewater has been the fiduciary for all of the grants we've received. So I'd also like to propose that we're able to continue to run operations through the town of East Bridgewater at no cost to the town specifically, once our grants have ended with the municipality sending their portion of the funds here. So all of our staff is paid through the town. Our bills, PCO's bills, get paid through the town. We of course have separate accounts for our grants that all that comes out of, but that's my last request. So happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Chief, you have something you want to add?
Just to interject, that recently Vicky had presented to the Plymouth County Chiefs as well, and we voted unanimously to support her to present to each individual, municipality about the opioid funds. We anticipate having a letter very soon in support that I can direct towards the board, but we unanimously voted to support, PCO, and then they're moving forward. But once the grant runs out, ways we can keep them running, and the opioid settle funds is the way we looked at it.
Great, thank you. Carol?
Thank you. That was really informative presentation, and thank you for the work you do, because I think everybody knows somebody that has been impacted by this in one way or another, so it's good to hear you tell those stories. I'm on the MMA board, the Mass Municipal Association board, and at our most recent MSA board meeting, we talked about opioid funds, and without a doubt, every one of the members of the MSA board were coming from a community that we haven't spent the money, we don't know what to do with it. They weren't all in Plymouth County, because it's statewide. And I think we're sort of uniquely situated in that we have a resource that we can use these funds for. We don't have to go out and invent a program, right, or find a space or a place. We have this already. So I would support doing whatever we can to use our opioid funds from the lawsuits to support you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
First of all, thank you guys for both presenting. I recognize Vicky from Plymouth County, our Drug Abuse Task Force, which I'm honored to be a member of for my work. And your data speaks volumes, and I think it always goes back to the data and how much you guys have made an impact, especially in Plymouth County. It's like the work you're doing is amazing, and I can't say enough good things. One question I do have is, I know you guys are getting, East Bridgewater, the money that we get allocated goes to PCO. I know we don't have EB Hope anymore. It's kind of gone to you folks, if you will. I think one question I have is in regards to how do you decipher, what the funding is that East Bridgewater receives versus other municipalities. What does that look like? I know specifically we may get funding from the state for EB Hope. I think it ended up going to PCO. But I just kind of wanted to understand how, it's delegated to East Bridgewater.
So I just want to clarify that we're not getting any funding that was going to PCO Hope, so our only funding source right now is our grants.
Okay.
We're still working on, because obviously we're going to have to go around and talk to all of the communities. We are working on some kind of a formula that's going to make it make sense, because obviously, Brockton will be asked to pay more than the town of East Bridgewater.
Right.
Gonna be paid, or gonna pay for. But again, we have, as Chief Jenkins said, we have full support from our chiefs, so that's, we just had our first of many meetings where we're talking through looking at what each community is getting as far as opioid settlement funds, and then what makes sense. So population is definitely going to be factored into that.
Right.
And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but absolutely when we have that formula worked out, that's something that we will absolutely send to you guys.
Yeah, that would be great. And then
I think, can I just add
no,
something?
yeah,
I think
no,
it's
go
important
ahead.
To note that even though it's so hard to single out just East Bridgewater, but because it's such an overlapping thing where we do have, like we said, situations that may happen outside of East Bridgewater, but then we still get notified by other towns. That still happens, and they have always been almost like a 24-hour resource for us. We're able to call at any time with any of those resources and questions. There's not a person limit on how many follow-ups we can do or help the people in the community.
Yeah.
If we had 20 situations come in, then the next week, their staff would support it. If we have one, they would still support it. It's hard. And it could be one family that needs a lot of resources, and it could be, it's so hard to gauge, I guess, how many efforts are going to be needed at a particular time, but the resources are always available to anybody in the community.
Okay, yeah, that's really what I meant and focus on, just because I think in working in my full-time job, I think I've seen a lot of the funding come from the state. I think East Bridgewater Hope, not this year, we didn't get it. It was like $30,000, and I was like, where is that? I was like, what does that look like? When if it ends up going to you folks, and I didn't know. Kind of just wanted to get that perspective, but that makes me feel better that you guys can go to them and you guys, are never going to be like, no, So,
whether it's the 149 visits we did this year, or maybe
Right.
it's going to be 350 next year, it doesn't matter. We're
Okay.
going to go and we're going to do them all, and we're not going to hand you guys a bill that's like, oh, we did, more than 149 this
Okay,
year.
perfect.
We're going to formulate it so that it makes sense, so that it's fair, but
Yeah.
we're happy to do as much as each community wants. So if, we've done coffee with a recovery coach, I think, in this room, when we've seen some concerning trends happening in the
Right.
community. So we really I'm in the database every day. I'm a person in recovery from heroin addiction myself. And so this work means a lot to me for a lot of different reasons. But I can speak for my entire team, really care so much about this work. And so we are, the data is great, but the data, every number is a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take that into account, and we are very dedicated to helping every person, every community who needs the help.
And if there was a particular need you think that got brought to this meeting that this community think PCO could help with, I know they do outreach events all the time and stuff, that would be something she would for sure jump on board for. If this specific East Bridgewater wanted to either host an event or maybe try to implement some new program with their work help, that would be something I think Vicki would have no problem exploring.
We would love to, any events or anything, we'd love to be present, yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you both. I mean, a lot of information, a lot of stuff that you guys got going on. I mean, I was even kind of you think opiate, you think, hard drugs, right? You don't think alcohol, and, to Celia's point, this obviously covers a vast amount of different generations of people, and I'm sure you see quite an array of people coming in that need the help. Specifically, the only question I had, so just so I understand, the recovery coaches, are they the officers, or are they, no?
So no, I am trained halfway as a recovery coach,
Okay.
but no. I'll reach out to Vicki, and she has a handful of recovery coaches, depending on who's working that day.
All right.
We schedule an appointment, and they'll meet me, and I'll take them in like my unmarked car,
Okay.
and we'll go do the follow-up.
So these are just average people that have just gone through, I guess, some sort of
Yep.
training and whatnot to,
Yeah, so there's a state certification process to become a certified addiction recovery coach. So all of our recovery coaches, before they go out, they go through like a recovery coach academy, and they're working towards that state certification. They have to be supportive of all different pathways to recovery. We're not pushing, everyone has to go to detox or everyone has to go to meetings. We really let the individual guide their own journey. And so that's what the recovery coach's job is to kind of help them navigate those resources, because the resources are very hard to navigate. So the outreach team consists of a plainclothes police officer like Cecilia, alongside a civilian recovery coach who has that lived experience component and can help navigate the resources.
I see, yeah, I think that's important to get that information out, just because there's probably, a lot of people out there, and this, in recovery, this may be an avenue. Some people they don't want to communicate, or they, don't have the skills to do that, but there are a lot of people, I'm sure, out there that would help them in their own recovery, because, I'm assuming, you tell me, recovery isn't 10 days, 2 weeks, 6 years, it's a lifetime, right?
It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm glad you said that,
Yeah.
so that if we do, 17, 18 people that actually listen to this, might,
Our
that-
fan base.
Yeah, right, may pick up on
Yeah,
that.
and for anyone that is listening, so our website has a Connect page. Anyone can put a message into that Connect page. It comes right into my email personally. I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone who has questions or wants to know more. And
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
can speak for you. And,
Yeah, that was my
We have, because Vicki's lucky enough to have part of her office in our station.
Okay.
So there have been times that, the public has just come into the lobby asking for questions on sectioning a loved one or resources in general. And Vicki, or whoever's in that office at the time, gladly comes out and talks to them.
That's great.
Great, yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought that. That was my next question, how they get in touch with us.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, we have we're on all social media accounts. We try to make it as easy as possible to reach out, however it works for you, whether that's through the police department, through our website, through any of our social media accounts. We're monitoring them regularly. However it's easiest for people
perfect.
to reach out.
Anything from Charlie or anyone else?
I think, obviously, we want to be able to use the funds that we're getting for the next number of years to help the residents and their families. There's obviously those who are suffering right now, but also do some prevention work, primarily through the school system, but maybe through other. Have you run, public forums, I guess, because we want, one of the things in terms of reading the materials is, in order to properly use these funds, we need to gather information from our residents and their families as to what services they need. Have you run anything like that, like a public forum, so we just gather that information from people who come in?
Not us specifically, no.
Okay.
But we're happy to.
We'll try and put something together.
I will say probably if you're looking for, I guess, resource categories, the situation tables, she has a long list of certain categories that those needs that we're trying to help people with. So that might be a good place to start.
And I think too, so if you look at the list of acceptable uses, we cover most of those
Yeah.
categories.
Well, no, it's not so much who to go to once we know what people need, it's finding out what people need first. So that, again, reading the literature, one of the things that was emphasized is you cannot do necessarily just a top-down structure. You need to go out to the community and say to family members, to those who are abusing, who are abused, people who are trying to do prevention work, what does this community in East Bridgewater need?
Yeah.
And then be able to work with you or whatever to provide those services.
Yeah, we would be happy to do something more formal, and I think not so formal, but obviously the individuals that we're interacting with, we do have, like, we could pull data on what services people are most often requesting.
I would say housing is up there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
definitely a big
so
one. Things-
we could pull stuff like
Right.
that. It hasn't been like any kind of official survey or anything, but certainly with the population of people that we have engaged with, we could pull all of that information as to what resources have been most requested or most accessed. But yeah, happy to,
good.
any requests, we're happy to do whatever we can to get that feedback.
Do you have any other questions for the board or specific to the subject?
I don't think so.
Great. We appreciate your help. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.
Sue.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Cecilia.
That's our project, I'm sure. We've got a contract, we have to award the contract. Or, no, executive session maybe? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Peter, what I recommend is if you can go to 8, I know that.
Yeah, we can, we'll jump over.
John have been waiting for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Chief, we're gonna just jump ahead a little bit from you. You mind?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what number was it, Charlie?
8.
All right. Steve, come on up, and John, you come up with him. Chris, you here for, what are you doing here?
Executive session.
Okay.
Motion to approval of the contract award to Naughton Corp. for the construction of the New Bedford Street sanitary sewer system.
Thank you. All right, for the record, you can tell us who you are. You look very familiar. I've seen you a few times.
Once or twice.
Last.
So I am Steve Peterson with Weston and Sampson Engineers.
John Haynes,
Who are you?
Director of Public Works.
All right, Steve, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Well, I figured, obviously, we've advanced this process and have some information that we're looking for the board to weigh in on and vote on, but also an opportunity to give you an update. We've been at it for a while, been a part of 4 years.
Yeah.
We've been involved with this process. It's been 3 years since we got the $11 million authorization to really move forward with the sewer project. And a long time between getting all the necessary permitting to do the work, the funding, working with all the directly impacted abutters, properties that are directly adjacent to the work. So we finally got to the point where we had all the approvals in place, went out to bid, and we opened bids recently in May. We had about 30 contractors take out documents, which there was a lot of interest. We ended up with 7 bidders, which was a good number of bidders. So we had a good competitive bid process. And as the agenda item says, the low bidder was C. Naughton Corporation. So we've done a tabulation of all the bids, trying to make sure all the math is correct, make sure the bids are in place, all the documents are intact. We've also done a reference check on C. Naughton themselves, both the ability to perform the work as well as their financial capacity to bond the work. They've actually done, they're a local contractor. Most recently, they've done a lot of work in Brockton. Have they done work here on the water system?
No, in collaboration, though, with the work that's done in Brockton.
Done in
We had some
Brockton.
crossover, so
Yeah.
they're very familiar with the system.
Very familiar with the system. We got a very good price, too, from them. So they came in, a good amount below the estimate on the project. So having done all the checks, we are recommending that you award to C. Naughton for their base bid. And my glasses broke right as I was fiddling around over there. Is it $6,368,975?
Okay.
And so, before, I guess, you guys go forward with your vote, so the way we would go from here is, we're looking, so we've set the recommendation, we're looking for support of the board to move forward with the award of the contract. If you support it tonight through the town, we'll issue the intent to award, and then we'll get the contracts going with all the insurance and make sure everything is in place, and then have the contracts ready for signature. And I think tonight's vote would also authorize you to sign the contracts when they are prepared and ready. And then we would be good to go forward. starting this summer with construction. And we have been in touch with the low bidder. They're excited. They feel good about their price. They know the area. They know the work. They just did the force main from Whitman over to Brockton. So,
Great.
as far as the dollars, so you've appropriated $11 million, just so as you're voting this, just so you know where things stand, where you're in good shape with the money. In the 3 years since you appropriated the money, you've incurred a little over $1 million in costs between everything that's happened, with this bid of about $6.5 million. And if you throw a 10% contingency on that number and the remaining construction oversight, the police detail work, and all of that, the final number is still going to be around $9 million, $9.1 million. So we're still well within the $11 million authorization. And then within that, how it's being paid, one of the biggest things about this is the amount of grant monies. I've never been involved with a project that got such a percentage of grant monies between the two grants that you got between the Mass Works. You have $4 million from Mass Works, and then the EDA grant was capped at $3 million. It was 33% of the ultimate construction cost. So that it's going to be a little less than $3 million, the grant, because the prices came in, because we're not using the full $11 million.
Yep.
But anyway, between those grant monies and then the developer agreements, these abutting properties that are anxious to see a sewer come through are contributing monies through that. So we're in real good shape.
The result between what we're going to spend and the grant monies and the contributions from the folks where the pipe is running through, all that taking net is more than offset by the property taxes we're getting from the Greystar property. The Greystar property, we're getting over $600,000 a year in taxes. And we're going to spend far, far less than that in principal and interest, paying off whatever residual debt we have after using the 2 grant funds and the contributions. So really, we're already going to be ahead of the game immediately, rather than waiting a number of years in order to recoup what we've spent so far.
So, I'll let the board ask some questions. I know you've been down this road with us for.
Oh, boy, I have no questions, but it is nice to have some good news.
Right.
So this is a great next step.
Yep. You haven't been with us, so you may have, but you have been part of the process.
Yeah, I was gonna
with,
say, I've definitely.
with Allison's staff there.
Yeah,
so.
I've definitely followed it, and I think, I actually don't have any questions.
Good.
I was going to say, I don't have any, other than thank you for coming forward this evening, especially with this information. This is very helpful. I like to see a bid that we have that sounds like we're working with some good people, so.
Great. I'd be here for hours thanking everybody that's been
This is your
involved.
moment.
Right, yeah, it's spotlight, right?
No, we need to get a shovel.
That shovel.
Oh, yeah, hard hats.
And then
I will say.
Then flush a toilet at some point.
I do have to thank Mary Walden, obviously,
Yeah.
$4 million grant from the state, and it was unbelievable. And then probably one of the best cocktails I've ever had was a $3 million cocktail when I met Don Sullivan at the OPC party some years ago.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well. But John Haynes, can't say enough about this guy over here. Obviously, taking my phone calls every day and listening to what we thought was a kind of a pipe dream back 15 years ago.
A shared vision.
Yeah. It's really seems to be taken. And then Weston Sampson, you guys have been with us from even this project over here, going way back. But it's like kind of like family. Yeah, that's how I look at it, because we've talked so much and been around each other so much. But Steve's done a great job. Franji's done a great job. I mean, it's just the beginning of where we're at. Chris Kenny's sitting over there as well. Definitely helped in the process. So those are just a few names of people that have been involved in this from the process. So I'm excited to finally get this off the road. I think John said it best the other day. It finally feels real. After all the time, for sure.
Culmination of 10 years of work and again, a vision for the town. And I've said before, this is in 25 plus years of being associated with the town. This is truly a project that I see as the first project that is going to provide the opportunity for the town for sustainable growth.
Yep.
And all those, it answers those questions that people have asked forever. Why is there no development in this? You know, why do we not have a bustling Route 18 corridor? And, you know, and we've been able to bring all these pieces together to create that.
100%. And just the beginning too. I mean, obviously the commercial end of this starts once we, get the process going. I mean, obviously we've got other entities that are interested outside of just the district, and I think that over the process of in the next few months, we'll see some of that stuff come out. So at the end of the day, I mean, what we went in for, looking for $11 million, clearly is going to be outreached for
I think just one other thank you. I think we'd be remiss not to, our relationship with the city of Brockton.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And the partners that they've been with this.
Yeah, no doubt.
It wouldn't-
Chasing signatures. I mean, we've got to write a book.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be a book.
I mean, this is,
There's a book in there somewhere.
the state talks about
Or at least
looking
a
at,
podcast.
Yeah.
regional alternative, and regional solutions and things
Right.
like this, and this is truly the example of a regional solution that will benefit the region,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I will entertain a motion, if you make a motion to award the bid, yep.
Yep. A motion for the approval of the contract award to Naughton Corp. For the construction of the New Bedford Street sanitary sewer system.
Second.
All right, motion been made and
Is
seconded.
that good enough?
Yeah.
You don't need the
Yeah.
specific amount.
We're open for discussion. Charlie, you have anything else that you wanted to?
Just wanted to make sure we're dotting the i's tonight.
Right, yep, 100%.
And for the record, it should be North Bedford.
North Bedford Street.
Yeah.
But
North
it's,
Bedford Street.
but I
North
guess
Bedford.
it would not- it's C Naughton,
Right.
See you.
you know.
All right.
And
See
that
not
written is Naughton.
Should I
You're
read it
reading
again?
You're
So when
reading
the-
it.
Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
When the legal attorneys from the federal government review this,
Yeah.
Chris, everything
they
else sound
can't
good?
catch us.
All right. Motion made, see no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Sewer pipe dreams do come true.
They do, right, right. All right, Chief, you want to come up and talk
Only an
about?
hour behind.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, the 6:10 appointment is now at 8:35.
That's my bedtime.
7:35, I'm already looking an hour ahead. Right,
I'm serious.
killing me on this hockey game tonight. It's
8 o'clock
cutting
start.
into my.
8 o'clock start.
June, they're still playing hockey.
Oh, yeah, the Stanley Cup.
Finals.
All right, go ahead.
I was asked to come,
Oh, all right, I saw
So
your
I-
name on here for the town constable discussion.
So,
Oh, Charlie?
3 years ago,
Yeah.
the town had voted to transfer the way we have constables from elected to appointed.
Yep.
During that intervening time, there had been some discussion about whether we needed to continue to have constables here in East Bridgewater. The terms are expiring. They were re-elected or elected back in 2022. Their terms are expiring this month. And what we wanted to do was have this discussion with the chief, about whether or not we needed to continue to appoint them. My understanding, having talked to Chris, is that everything a constable can do or is maybe a responsibility can also be done by another party. So for instance, the posting of town meeting warrants can be done by a justice of the peace. The sheriff's office can,
serve process,
right.
civil process.
So I don't know that there's a need, in a sense of by itself, isolated, in a sense of if we don't have constables, we will not be able to do anything that I'm aware of. I know that when I contacted the three of them, I didn't hear from one of them. Robert Van Duzen is no longer interested in being a constable. He's basically, he's retiring out of that. Michael Travers said he would be interested if the board decided to do a reappointment.
Okay. There's only two right now?
There were three, but I didn't hear from the third.
Third guy, never, okay, a woman or whatever.
Is that Joel Thomas? No, because he lives down the.
He doesn't live here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dan O'Leary's the other one,
okay.
All right.
yeah. I mean, it's changed a little bit since post-reform.
Right.
There's really, I mean, constables, they have no oversight really or formal training, and they pretty much, they just assist with the court administration, due
Right.
process serve.
Right.
I mean, it's become antiquated pretty much, and that's why it's evolved into something where it's more appointed than elected. Some communities still do elect them, but, I mean, all they do is they really serve process, and they have no oversight. There's really, when post-reform came out, we just had to submit the names of them, and that was it. But like I said, there's no oversight. They're appointed, and that's it, no formal training.
Right.
So there's,
We only have one person interested, is that what, right now?
That's what it looks like, yes.
Okay, and you've worked with this person in the past?
Michael Trapp.
yeah, I mean, we're familiar with them. They have no interaction with us unless they are going to do civil process, so they might give us a heads up.
Okay.
But they really have, they don't fall under it, they're not over, like I said, they have no formal oversight.
Right.
They're appointed, and they get their constable from the state, and the appointment of the town they reside in, or they want to be a constable.
So is there a benefit to us to appoint
I
him?
don't see any at this point.
I mean, I know Mike, he's been a constable
Yeah.
for a long time, and he takes it very seriously, but if there isn't any real role for them, but,
So one potential benefit is under the statute, constables are actually required under the statute, which is chapter 41, section
oh, I know you
95A.
don't, but they don't do it.
They're required to pay the town 25% of their fees they collect, and they're also required to, every April 15th, file with the treasurer an account of all the money and fees. A lot of times that doesn't happen, though, you know, and I
Didn't
don't.
have.
We got one
that had
report,
no
but as
money.
far as you know, no turnovers.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know if they're actually, you know, maybe they're not doing any service process, you know, but if they're, you know, so, but.
How much do they charge? Is it
I mean,
peanuts?
to get something served, it can, you know, it depends on, sometimes it's on like, you know, it can be like, what, like $100
$115, $115.
Yeah, and that's the one potential,
There we go, we just saw that.
yeah. So it's not like, unless
Yes.
you're serving a lot, yeah. it's like-
Plymouth County Sheriff's Department has a civil process unit now, and they primarily, they serve for everybody pretty much. It comes down to the Sheriff's Department.
I mean, you know, if we're able to, you know, $25, but I'm thinking to myself, how much was that sign on Summit Drive, you know, if we can do that how many times, you know? Thinking smart financially, is there any harm to appointing one? Not you, sorry, I'm not looking at it. Yeah.
I think just as the chief mentioned, so I think the town switched, the town used to do elected
Yeah,
constables.
right.
Now we're appointing.
Years ago, and just like the chief mentioned, the problem was, especially when you elect them, like anybody could.
Right.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
You know, someone with a criminal background.
And it was a
Right.
sought-after race for
Yeah.
many years.
And I think-
There's been some controversy, I'm not going
Yeah.
to get into it, but
Before-
they were running around with guns and badges around,
yeah.
Right.
with no formal training or oversight.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, and that's why, as a part of police reform, it's like, okay, who's going to keep an eye on the constables? And
Exactly.
we just had to give them a name, so it's like, they don't report
Yeah.
to us.
I don't know, all I can picture is like
Which is
Yosemite
crazy.
Sam.
Yeah.
Years ago, a constable, some towns, they had constables, like, I think it's Newton, or, they have constable traffic officers, so they're
Right.
technically like flaggers or civilian traffic
Yeah.
officers.
Oh, okay.
But they call them constables. The name has changed and evolved over the years. It used to be a lot more than it was, but
Yeah.
there's really no need for them anymore. Not
Yeah.
to offend any constables out there.
No,
but
I know, that's
Very
kind of,
antiquated. Yeah,
It's very
from the,
antiquated.
You know, from the.
Colonial.
Plymouth,
Yeah.
you know, Plymouth.
yeah,
Right.
I was kind of thinking that, right,
Right.
because we post-train, it's just different, there's
Yeah.
no oversight on it, so it's concerning at the same time.
Yeah, me too.
And if, I don't know Travers at all,
Imagine a
so
gun with no training or oversight. That's the way I
Right.
look at it, I mean.
a liability.
So Charlie, I mean, what do we do? We're trying to just.
Well, if you decide not to do any reappointments, then you don't.
Oh,
we-
we don't need a motion for
we-
that or anything else, or?
Basically, by doing nothing, you've done nothing, and therefore they won't be reappointed.
I like
I mean, I would send them a nice note saying, thank you
Good
for,
motto.
you know, serving the
Yeah,
town.
By doing
think at-
nothing, we've
I
done
think at
nothing.
this time, with the information that we've had before us with having the chief here, I also agree, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
there
don't-
is a
I
need
think
for
we
an
can let it-
appointment at this time.
Let it go.
Right.
You know, if he wants to come forward and present his case, more than happy to have somebody here, but not right now.
Yeah, all right. I think
I'm
we'll-
good,
I think a
I'm
letter
good with
would
not
be-
doing it
yeah,
anymore, but yeah, Mike's been a constable for a long time, so thanking him for, you know,
His
for
past
his
Years of service.
service doing that.
Was he invited this evening?
Yes, he's out of country.
Okay.
Serving,
I didn't ask. I didn't tell.
Due process.
due process. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you, chief.
All right, that concludes, it looks like, our
Jeez.
appointment process, so.
We can go boom, boom, boom on the rest and get Chris.
Right, all right, so we're going back to number 4.
Okay.
And then we're rolling down the list.
Approve the request from Fire Chief John DeZalio for, am I saying that correctly? Sorry.
Dizzalo.
DeZallo,
yeah.
okay. For the quarterly ambulance billing abatements through June 3rd, 2025, to the amount of $55,694.53.
Second.
All right, motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the request from Chuck Horn for the use of the town common of November 1st, 2025, November 15th, 2025, for Field of Flags and placement of the 18 by 24 roadside advertisement sign from October 2nd, 2025, November 2nd, 2025, to support the event.
Second.
Motion made second. Discussion, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Approve the request from Paul Cannell for the use of the town common to hold the annual flag retirement ceremony from 5:30 PM to 8 PM for the following dates. In the event of inclement weather, the ceremony will be rescheduled to the Sunday following Flag Day for each respective year.
With the
June.
dates from 25 through 2030.
Okay, yeah, June 8th, 2025, June 14th, 2026, June 13th, 27, June 11th, 28, June 10, 29, and June 9th, 2030.
Second.
Motion made second. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the request from Deanna Lapine for the use of the Sachem Rock Farm on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, from 10 to 1 p.m. for the East Bridgewater Community Gardens Harvest Festival. Rain date Sunday, August 24th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made second. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to discuss the vote to authorize the town of East Bridgewater for a grant on easement of Massachusetts Electric Company permitting the installation, operation, and maintenance of the equipment necessary to provide electric service at 107 Central Street in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The request pertains to work request number 311411305, dated April 14th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion, Charlie?
This is just, so this is a pole that will be on the main property of the town, rather than the right-of-way. Right-of-way, they have to go get the permits from you and everything, but they don't need a specific easement. For this, they need the easement but not a permit. This is part of the additional wiring that was being put in to rectify the situation we had a couple months ago with the electrical fire.
Okay.
Of course, we'll probably then take the pole down, and one hopes in a couple of years, but
Straight down the
we'll
street.
worry about that later.
Right. All right, motion made, discussed, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion to discuss and vote authorize the department heads for their designee listed below to collect payroll checks in accordance with MGL Chapter 41, Section 41A.
And I would say just as listed in.
As listed.
Second.
Second, motion made second. Discussion, Charlie?
Megan had informed us that there was a provision in the state law about picking up paychecks and that you have to improve having certain individuals in each of those departments. The departments that are on the list, everybody gets their paycheck via electronically.
Correct, yep.
So, but each of these departments, there are a few people who don't get their paychecks electronically, and they're still dealing with paper paychecks.
Really?
And then we have
You
to,
don't make them?
we do not require them.
So they still want to get a check? What? One of them I know very well.
Yes.
He's gonna have to talk to that one.
Well, what can I tell you?
Crazy.
Okay.
No, this is just the people who can pick them up. It's
Yes.
not necessarily
Oh, it's not,
individual.
Right, yes,
Oh,
yes.
gotcha. People
Your
that
whole
would come in.
office. John Shea was about to get a phone call.
Right, my sister. I'm like, what? Really? You wanna really just walk up the hill? All right, makes more sense now. Okay. Motion made second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to discuss and sign the letter of the support for the wastewater study by Old Colony Planning Council.
Second.
Motion made second, Charlie?
They had done a similar study on a regional basis for water, and now they want to do one for wastewater. And I certainly recommend that we support it.
Yep. All right, motion made, discussed, all in favor?
Aye.
A discussion on the current vacancy on the school committee and potential steps for appointment.
And we have a vacancy, we've advertised that vacancy, I believe it's like the 23rd, something like that, that we've given people a certain amount of time to apply. I think we've had 2 or 3 people, Lee.
I've seen 2 or 3.
So, and Lee is sending those along to the school committee. Eventually, they'll come back with a recommendation. I expect we're going to have a joint meeting on July 14th to have the recommend.
And they may get back to you on the date. I guess they have some conflict on the 14th, but I'll let them.
Okay, well, we'll work it out.
Yeah. that's
Schedule.
fine.
Okay.
All right, there's nothing to be done there.
Discussion, possible vote on continuation of appointment of Chantel Bichet on the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion?
Right, so the situation is that she's not been able to attend a number of the Finance Committee meetings for reasons other than illness or something like that. And the Finance Committee, under the bylaw, can, in essence, ask the Select Board to declare the seat to be vacant. This is in our own bylaws, it's not a state statute situation. And the Finance Committee has done that, to asking that the board declare it vacant.
Okay.
And we've notified her of this meeting and the intent, so.
Okay, motion's made and second. Any further discussion?
What you're going to be doing is to
You wanna
declare the
amend
seat to
the
be
motion
vacant.
To declare a vacancy.
I amend the motion to declare vacancy for the continuation of the appointment of Chantel Bichet on the Finance Committee.
Second.
All right, motion made, seconded, discussion? Seeing we already had it, all in favor?
Aye.
To discussion of protocols and best practices for handling anonymous complaints.
Oh, this one, yes. Okay.
If you want to skip, and we'll do this in 2 weeks, unless you want to.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is gonna be a discussion.
Yeah,
so-
I have some questions
Sure.
we could table.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
good
it's
idea,
gonna
because
be
I
a
won't
lot
be
of-
here.
a lot of talk.
I'm going to submit an anonymous complaint.
Anonymous
for it.
complaint that you were not.
How would we know it's yours?
Right.
Oh, I love it. Okay. A discussion on Route 18 at Highland Street engineering survey.
So the state is asking for permission to do survey work. This is not, what is your favorite color survey? That's engineering survey. Over at the intersection of Route 18 and Highland Street. It's one of the 2 intersections in town that MassDOT is working on making improvements. It's a multi-year process. If anybody was here for how long it took for them to do that stretch just south of the Central Street down to the Joppa. It's going to be several years before anything happens. But they did get permission from you all to do nighttime survey work. They want to get permission to do survey work in the daytime later this month. They don't need a police detail or anything like that. They're not going to be out on the road or anything like that, but they do need permission.
All right, sounds fair enough. Want to make that in a motion?
Motion for the Route 18 at Highland Street for an engineering survey.
Thank you.
Second?
Motion made, second, and discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Do you want to bump the next one also to 2 weeks, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's anything pressing right now. There's nobody.
Well, we have several,
Knocking on the
we've
doors.
had, well, actually, there are people knocking on our doors. That's why it's come up.
Were they invited to come this year?
No, because
We would discuss it
because
first.
it's not going to be just them, in the sense that we have several individuals who have been talking with Lee saying, we'd like to get a package store license either for beer and wine or for all alcohol. We've hit our quotas and had hit our quotas for a while. The only way we can get out of that is to get special legislation to increase the number of licenses permitted.
Okay.
But
Is this directly decided by the board, or does it have to go to town meeting?
it's a good question. I'd have to talk to council later on, I suspect.
Special legislation.
Because I don't know, it needs special legislation, there's no question, but I don't know whether it has to go to town meeting for the legislation to get up there, or whether the board can do it by itself without town meeting.
Good.
It's for what, I'm sorry?
Increase in the liquor licenses.
Oh, okay.
But we'll look.
Yeah, it might have to go to town meeting.
Yeah, I don't think so, right?
Okay. So table it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell Mr. Cruschetti we're looking into it.
Yeah.
Yes, we got some answers.
So he's not on the.
I think if it's
So
a
he's
home
not
rule
waiting.
petition, it needs
Say we're
town
investigating.
approval. I
It's
know
not
the
just-
clerk's office will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually the article is,
approval, yeah.
give the board of selectmen
Right.
permission to petition
Yeah.
the legislature.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Is the number that we have, what is that based on, size?
Population.
Population?
Okay.
And our population has increased
No, it hasn't.
since.
Not sufficiently to increase the
No?
quota,
Okay.
no.
I mean, I don't know how often they look at that and
Tally up
determine
the
how
numbers.
many.
Probably
yeah.
it's probably the census every 10 years, but we haven't increased in population sufficiently to cause an increase in the number of licenses.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks. All right, I think that ends the action portion of our meeting this evening. Yes,
What do I do now?
you just sit back and
Okay.
relax. All right, we're
Then
gonna
I
go
gotta
down
You
the
get ready
line.
to read us into executive
Yeah.
session in a few
Okay.
minutes.
Announcements, let's start with Lee. What do you got?
Nothing.
Lee's like, it's almost 8 o'clock, that's what I got.
Becca?
I don't have anything right now.
All right.
I'll keep it short, one item. I do want to congratulate Rebecca on, she's going to be getting her MMA Suffolk Certificate in Local Government Leadership and Management.
Well done, you.
This is not some program that you go for a morning and they give you a piece of paper. This is an all-year, I don't know, what, 30 Fridays, 35 Fridays, something like that. Full day, writing papers, leading presentations. This is graduate level coursework. This is not some.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very-
We're very proud of you.
Yes, that's
thank you.
awesome.
Very
We're lucky to
big
have you.
achievement, big
We'll buy you a
achievement.
coat.
Right.
But she'll be up in Boston tomorrow, up at Suffolk for the
Nice.
ceremony.
Official
Oh, good.
graduation ceremony.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Good for
That's,
you.
Quite the
Congrats.
achievement, for sure. Is that it, Charlie?
Outside the priorities, but I guess we probably don't want to spend, do we?
Right, Art?
No, okay, I didn't know which way you were looking at me.
This was a no.
You can talk with me afterwards. You can send an anonymous
I'm gonna send
Complaint.
If you do this tonight, I'm gonna send an anonymous complaint.
Oh, wow. Got a lot of them. I think you've already said like 4 anonymous complaints you sent in.
Are they anonymous?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, right. I don't know what it's about. All right, thank you. Board discussion.
I got nothing.
You got something?
I do?
Yes.
Oh, Dale and the Duds. Wasn't that
Hey,
you?
well,
No.
still, it doesn't matter.
It's us, right? Dale and the Duds, Tuesday, June 17th, 6 to 8
Perfect.
p.m. on the Common with Perfectly Flavored. End of the school year summer concert.
Yep. That's great.
An East Bridgewater tradition that we think is like almost 40 years.
That's awesome.
Like, I don't know. I mean,
My friends
Maybe
keep
even
texting
more,
and
like-
asking, when is Dale and the Duds?
Oh, wow.
And
Next
we're
Tuesday.
26.
It's coming up.
hope for
17th.
hope for good weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Well,
you.
it's not the weekend.
I know, it's not a Saturday, so, right? It should be all right.
Middle of the week, so it's
Right.
good, right? Catherine, anything?
I guess the one thing I have is that the financial policy from the treasurer, we're kind of working on some scheduling. I know I said until September.
She may be able to come on the 23rd.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I just had some questions, and originally I know that I was gonna ask and then kind of come back with my decision, but I kind of thought maybe that would be, and the reason of transparency, have her be able to come, and then if we do have to wait until September, then I can just send her an email with the questions I have and read it into the record here. But if she's able to come on the 23rd,
We'll see.
that would be great, just so we can have some questions answered.
All right, great.
Sorry.
All right, thank you. I mean, I have my people here.
You
My
did.
people
You had
came.
your moment.
I have my moment, I have my people.
Congratulations to
yes.
you, too,
So,
yeah.
Yep, worked out great. So that being said, why don't you take us into executive session?
Yep, executive session, vote to close open meeting and enter executive session and not return to open session pursuant of MGL Chapter 30A and 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and litigation. If open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining of litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares, superior officers, clerical, DPW, patrol officers. Pursuant of MGL Chapter 38 and 21A3, to discuss the strategy with respect to litigation as the chair has determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position in a matter of involving town of East Bridgewater v. Ritter Farm. Adjourn.
I. Say
Aye. I,
Catherine.
Catherine Mullen.
Hi, Carol Jolius.
Aye, Peter Spigot. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. That was only 2 hours, that wasn't bad.